We often don't realize that we are the key to our own happiness, and that happiness starts with healing and transformation. Whether you need healing, guidance, clarity, understanding, or just some honest sister talk to feel connected, heard, and supported, you are welcome and safe here. So join the conversation and be healed. Welcome to Soul Healing Conversations with your host, Roz Kincaid.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Soul Healing Conversations. I appreciate you guys tuning in today and joining me for some conversation, some spiritual conversation or some soul conversation. So today I'm going to be talking about the levels of consciousness. Yeah, so it might get a little funny, but hang in there with me though, because I want to help make this subject relatable and easy to understand for people who are, going through some transition or not really understanding what's happening as they are going through some ascension, possibly. So stick around because we're going to dive into that. But before we get into that, let me share with you, those who are new to the show, how you can connect with me. If you like what you hear today and you want to work with me one-on-one, then I invite you to book a session with me at rozkincaid.com. I do offer Reiki. I'm about to start calling them intuitive healing sessions because they're changing. I also do psychic mediumship readings, and I also have a coaching program that I would love to support you with. So when you go to my website, you will also find some downloadable free content called 10 Practices to Master Your Energy. Check that out if you are for some easy ways to manage and master your energy as you move about the world. Y'all be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Soul Healing with Roz to learn more all about the things I'm doing. You want to stay connected with me because there are going to be some changes with this show, and I want to make sure you guys are aware and stay informed. And I also want to stay connected with you. So if you want to stay connected with me throughout and beyond the transition of this show, please do make sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Soul Healing with Roz. So just a minute ago, I was just speaking about my coaching program. I do have an 8-week coaching program, and I am looking for a few women who want some amazing and impactful results with going from feeling drained and overwhelmed, or you are having some struggles. I don't want to call it an identity crisis, but you just feel like something is not quite clicking with your belief systems, or you want to dive more into intuition and start to develop that, trust that, and you want to do some a little bit of shadow work or inner child work and just really get down to the core and peel back the layers of who you really are so that you can start to show up in that and not do this shit where we do this people pleasing kind of thing. Not kind of thing. We people please, and we live through these limited belief systems that no longer serve us and help us be expanded. So I am looking to work with you if you want to work on those types of things. If you want to create more abundance, you want to feel confident to show up as your truest self and your most authentic self, and you want to be unbothered by people's responses and reactions to that, then listen, I'm here to do the work with. I'm here to be your guide. I'm here to be your coach. So if that sounds interesting to you and that type of shift lights you up, then email me and let's have a conversation, or let's set some time up to have a conversation. You can email me at hello@rozkincaid.com. There is, of course, into you that is required to take advantage of this program, but any investment that you make is well worth what you're going to get out of it. And what you get put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And that's with anything. Can't be going to the gym and do one push-up and think you lost 10 pounds. Like, come on now, be real. All right, you guys. So let's move on to today's conversation. The background, I want to give a little bit of context to what I'm about to get into today's topic of conversation, because I recently had a client come in for a Reiki session, and y'all, spirit is doing something in these sessions where they're turning into something totally expansive and greater. The healing still happens, the Reiki energy still happens, the balancing of your chakras still happens, the cleansing of your energy still happens, the breaking of concentrated energy still happens to give you the healing that you need, or to dissolve any kind of dis-ease. That still happens. But before and after the session, there's a conversation that happens with between me, my clients, and spirit. And it kind of feels like, to me, a reading because I'm tapping into your energy even before I put my hands on you. And again, this a conversation starts to happen, and I start to look into people's transition of their consciousness. And I had a conversation or debrief after the healing with my client, and she shared with me some of the things that she is dealing with and some of the mindsets that seem to be changing for her. And I've been working with her for quite a while. She's one of my most loyal clients, and so I know her energy, and I kind of can pick up really easily and quickly what she's dealing with. And um, and she's just having these experiences that just seem strange, and she's having a hard time kind of understanding, what is happening with me. One minute I'm fine, the next minute I'm so fucking bothered with the world that I don't know what to do with myself. I'm having these mood swings, my body feels different at times. And what I tapped into is that, and she and I kind of talked about this in a previous session, is that she is actually in a way becoming someone new, but not that is not new. And it's through her mindset, and it's through the shift in her energy, and it's through this transition of her consciousness that is showing up in her body. And when I say her body, I mean her tangible physical body, her mood, her attitude, and her responses and her behaviors to people, situation, and things. And so that kind of drew me to talking about the levels of consciousness, where we have 3D consciousness, 4D consciousness, and 5D consciousness. Now, from what I understand, those are the conscious levels of consciousness that we deal with in the human experience. There are many more. There are many more levels out there. But today I want to focus the conversation on the 3D, third dimension, fourth dimension, and fifth dimension consciousness, because in addition to my client dealing with this, as well as me, it is an indication of what is happening on a collective level. Like, it ain't just us that's going through this. Collectively, the earth, the people in the earth are changing. The way we view society, the way we view and think about the constructs and the establishment is changing. I mean, look at what's going on. Look at all the change that's been brought about with COVID, and with, the movement with racial equality. Look at what's happening with Black Lives Matter. That Black Lives Matter ain't just happening in America, y'all, because racism is everywhere. Racial inequality is everywhere. It's in Canada, is in Europe, it's everywhere. So BLM is everywhere. And so what's happening is that I'm finding that people are trying to get back to their roots. And this came up with Wanika Dunn, who I most recently had on the show, and had an astrology reading with this past weekend. And people are trying to get back to their roots. They're trying to tap back into their ancestry. They're trying to not find themselves, but a lot of people right now are doing the inner work. I know I'm doing it. I have to. I have to do it. And it's almost like this pull for us to elevate our mindset, to elevate our consciousness. Like, you really don't even have to ask to do it. It's just going to automatically happen, because really that's why you're here, right? And so what I want to do throughout this show is kind of break down for you In easy to understand terms, what it is that we're dealing with on each level of those three dimensions: 3D dimension, 4D dimension, and 5D dimension. Okay. So, like, these dimensions aren't actual places, first of all, but they're states, again, of consciousness, our awakened state, or the way we think, what we believe. So when we're here on earth, we could be living a life in 3D, 4D, 5D, or you could be switching back and forth between all three. That happens. That's where the astral travel and the time jumps kind of come in, with moving back and forth. So yeah, most of the time we're all kind of moving back and forth between all three states of consciousness, depending on where we each are in our journeys. And that's what kind of takes away the judgment, because we're all in different states of consciousness, all in different places in our journey. So let's dive in. Let's talk about 3D consciousness. So in 3D consciousness, um, we are actually viewing things from a purely physical, tangible state, right? In 3D, you are seen as an individual. You're seen, or you view things as not connected and separate from other people. It's almost like you have this idea of, it's survival of the fittest. You need to go for yours because I'm going for mine, right? And a lot of times what we do in this matrix, a lot of us in the spiritual community call it the matrix, because there's the conditioning that happens. There's the programming that happens, from society, from the man, from the government, from our parents, our caregiver, our core of family, where you end up being identified by the way you look, the job you have, the car you drive, and the people that you surround yourself with, your group of friends or your tribe, right? And on this level tends to exist um, FOMO, this fear of missing out, or this poverty consciousness, or this idea that you don't have enough. There's scarcity there, and when as I'm talking about this, what's coming up is that this is where ego is most present, where the fear, the anger, the hate, the rage, the racism, the inequality, all of that low level stuff, right? That is 3D is where most of that tends to live. And we end up that's 3D is the place where we kind of perceive things as being good, bad, right, wrong, and life is competition. Does this feel familiar to anybody? Because I know it feels familiar to me. And we also are in this mindset that there's just not enough for everybody. And it's almost like this, I feel like this energy of anxiety that we tend to live in when we're in this 3D state of mind, in this 3D state of consciousness. Our pain and emotions become difficult to manage, like the pop off, going off on people and getting, distracted and letting people throw you off course becomes difficult to manage, and it becomes easier for you to react in a way that is volatile, so to speak. And maybe it's not outwardly volatile, but on the inside, there's this volatility that could be going on, or this slow self-destruction that could be going on. And life kind of seems like a punishment. There's no desire to go within or to look at things from a deeper standpoint. It's like today is right now is all that matters, and I got to get it before it's gone. I feel like there's this sense of urgency within 3D, and there's no real joy to live in life. It feels like there's this oppression that kind of hangs over you when you are solely in 3D state. There's always, you see life again, from a place of lack. And that becomes hard, right? That becomes difficult to just live in there. Um, it reminds me of I watched this show about little people, and particularly this size of reality TV. Listen, I love reality TV because there's a lot of subliminal messages that I get from it. So don't judge me, okay? Um, but I watched Little Women of Atlanta, and when I'm watching that, it kind of gives me the example of and shout out to all the little people out there. You guys, I mean, are amazing people. You know, to be able to overcome what you're dealing with from a physical standpoint and just, out there living life and trying to, not so much fit in with regular people, but I just feel like little people are just fascinating people just because of their drive and their mindset. But I digress. And what happens is when I look at the show and I see a lot of the struggles that the women go through, and it's like, man, it's almost as if a lot of these women on this show are still caught up in that 3D state of mind where they want out of feeling like people are picking on me. I have to overcome. I have to get mine for mine here and hustle, hustle, hustle in order to prove or overcompensate for my shortcomings physically. I have to be smarter. I have to be better. You know what I'm saying? It all almost becomes a competition. And what I see on this show is that not only does it become a competition among the little people community and regular people community, but there's this competition that happens within the little people circle of friends. And so that kind of makes me think of, and I'm going to tie it all together. That makes me think of what happens on a 3D level. Like we're all on the surface. We're all trying to make it. We're all trying to get the deal. We're all trying to get the money. We're all trying to get the success. We're all trying to get something tangible that looks like abundance, like that looks like we've made it. Right. And life is played out by, skimming the surface, not really going deep enough for whatever reason. There's no desire to really dig deep or to understand the meaning behind things. You just kind of, living on the surface, living on the surface. Like you see shit come up, you see things pop up, you see, you understand that you have a reaction to situations in life, but there's no real desire there in 3D to change, to elevate, to expand. And that energy feels contracted. It feels very contracted and very close to the body. Okay. So I think we got 3D covered. So let's talk about 4D. 4D, moving from 3D to 4D, is like a gateway to the fifth dimension, which we'll get to probably after the break. When it's almost like you make this massive jump in 3D, from 3D to 4D. That's way more difficult to make. Like it's hard to make the jump from 3D to 5D. So 4D is like it's the do not pass go. It's the pass go and collect $200 to get back to Broadway in terms of Monopoly, right? So in 4D, this is where you begin to awaken to that idea that we're all connected. We're all connected, and there's more to life than what I'm seeing with my naked eye. This is where psychic experiences can start happening. Your intuition can start to open up, and and there's this powerful shift that happens in the way that you perceive reality, right? So this idea of duality and the idea that good and bad, is still experienced, but there's a little bit more compassion and understanding behind it. And I feel like this is where the majority of the population of the collective is right now, I feel like. And or most of us are starting to make that shift. And this is where, if you all have seen the movie Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, this is where the DJ gets on his mic and yells, and I'm not going to do it, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. This is the wake up phase. Wake your ass up. Wake up. And what I see for you tarot lovers out there, what I see when I think of 4D, I think of the judgment card. I think it's the judgment card. Yeah. Yeah, it's the judgment card. Is it judgment card? Yeah, it's the judgment card. It's the card where I think it's Archangel Michael is standing up on high, and then all of the dead people are risen from the dead. It's time. 4D is when it's time to raise your ass up from the dead. It's time to wake it up from the old beliefs. There's an opening up that happens. It's like it's morning time all day long. It's time to leave behind the old way of thinking, the oppressive way of thinking, and start to live from a more elevated place, right? There's an opening to the importance of your diet. You've become more conscious and aware of your diet. You may start to have an interest in meditation, and you just want to overall lead a healthy lifestyle, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And what you put in your body starts to become important. And there's this desire to start to pay attention of how your actions affect the environment and those around you. You start to think about that kind of stuff. Now we kind of getting up under the surface. We're getting up under the tip of the iceberg, just under the surface there. Right? And there's this strong desire to find your purpose. I've had a few people come to me in some breakthrough calls to say, I feel like what I'm doing is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just want to find my purpose. I want to find what I'm doing. And this is the perfect time when you start asking that question, that's the trigger to say, I need to follow my passions. I need to get out here and do me. Not do me from the 3D point of view where where it's hook or crook. I got to get it any way I can. But now you look at life as whatever I'm doing, it needs to be impactful, positively impactful, not just for me and my family, but on a larger scale. Right? You start to understand that life is meant to be enjoyed and that you are worthy to live the life of your dreams. Shit, this is me. This is where I am right now. Like, I fucking hate the 9 to 5. I do. I hate anything that kind of boxes me in, doesn't let me be free, doesn't let me, do my own thing, doesn't let me be in my creative space and think for myself and make my own choices. I'd be told I don't like that anymore. Whereas before I, 5 years ago, I was okay with a 9 to 5, okay with the stability of it. I was okay. I was fine with, staying in one job for 10 years, like a factory worker. And shout out to all the factory workers because, y'all make America great. Y'all make the country great. Like, we got to have people to work in the factory to make the shit we need. And then I come from I come from a family of factory workers. So, ain't no just where I come from. But there's this shift that happens to where, like, I know I'm supposed to be here doing something greater than in the rat race, something greater than just popping into the matrix and following the crowd. Go to work, collect the check, get good benefits. Go to work, collect the check, get good benefits. It's almost like boring ass transactional sex. Like, who wants that? Like, nobody want to do that. Like, put some spice into it. Like, let's be purposeful about what we're doing. And in the 4D, you start to perceive the world. You start to perceive the world a little differently. You start to perceive the world through your senses, your 6 senses. And your intuition starts to grow and it starts to expand. Remember, I talked about this. I mentioned this just a minute ago, where your intuition, you start to have these psychic experiences and like, oh shit, what the fuck is going on? I'm starting to hear things and repeating numbers are starting to come up. And I had a dream about my grandmother and, all of these things, right? You start to seek a deeper meaning to life. And you can start to see the synchronicity or the quote unquote magic in the universe. You've woken up. And it's a fascinating thing. It's a great thing. Like Neo, put me in the matrix so I can change the matrix. You become Neo. You become magic yourself. I actually had a lady come through and same lady I think I was talking about before, where she is starting to have those psychic experiences. And this can be scary too. This waking up to the 4D can be very scary, And if you don't have a support system or someone safe to go to kind of, that's a little bit ahead of you in this, to kind of help you understand what's happening, it can kind of throw you off and spook you out and deter you or keep you in that 3D state of mind, right? So the best advice when you feel like are making a shift from 3D to 4D is find you a solid support group. People, and how is that this group of people will feel good. What they're talking about will resonate with you. Like, yeah, that's it. Or yes, I just had that experience too. Remember the synchronicity of it all. You gotta lean into it. Lean into this shift because it's for your growth. It's for your expansion, not just for you personally, but collectively. Because remember, in 4D, what you do now is expanded and it affects other people and other things. Now you're connected. Now you see the benefit, or you see the connectivity in everything is what I'm trying to say. Right? We're all connected in 4D. There is no, you see the good and the bad, but you understand it. You start to have a little bit of compassion for the conflict within yourself first. I always say that the work has to start with you. The shift starts with you, even though it's happening all around you, right? So listen, you guys, we got to take a quick break. I'm going to come back after this break and talk about some signs that you're moving or shifting into 4D. And I'm going to talk about 5D as well. We'll be right back after this break.
You have a passion, and from that passion, you've created a business. But how do you market and grow that business? Hi, I'm Emily of Shine Coaching and Consulting. I specialize in brand identity, website design, marketing consulting, and business coaching. I create a visual expression of my clients' ideas and help them develop a business strategy to meet their goals. Connect with me today at shinecoachingandconsulting.com. Be inspired, be real, be you.
The Voice America Live Events channel is here now to showcase your corporate, individual, or organization's live event. Visit voiceamerica.com/live events to see all of our past live events and find out more. Whether it's a multi-day conference, special speaker, or single-day event, we've got everything to make your event a success. We can do a few hours or a few days. For more information about taking your event to the next level, call Jeff Spinard at 480-294 480-294-6417 or email info@voiceamerica.com. Again, that's Jeff Spinard at 480-294-6417 or send us an email to info@voiceamerica.com. Voice America is where you are and where you want to be. Join us around the globe as we broadcast live from some of the most interesting events available. Don't forget to view all our live events, including on-demand access to past events that you may have missed by visiting voiceamerica.com/live events.
You are tuned in to Soul Healing Conversations. If you would like to reach Roz Kincaid or her guest today, please call into the program at 1-866-472-5788. That's 1-866-472-5788. You may also send an email to hello@rozkincaid.com. Now, back to Soul Healing Conversations.
Welcome back to Soul Healing Conversations, everybody. I'm your host, Roz Kincaid, and today I am talking about levels of your mind. Let's get your mind right. So before the break, I had been talking about 4D, moving from 3D to 4D. And I want to get into now some of the signs, so to speak, of you living in 4D. And I kind of alluded to some of them already. And so some of these can include, you start to question the norms, the rules, and the traditions. Like you start to question stuff like that. And it's not so much as laws of the land, but laws of you, the things that have been kind of ruling and governing you in the way that you think, right? And these traditions that we flow through year after year. Like I know this year, especially because we were all quarantined during the holidays, people was like, why we got to eat turkey on Thanksgiving? Who said to do that? Why we got to exchange gifts on Christmas? Who said to do that? Like all of these traditions and even some of these family traditions that we have created for ourselves, you start to question those things from like, well, why are we doing that? Like, and question it also from a perspective of, do I want to do this? Do I want to keep doing this? You start to stand up and raise your hand like, hey, look, does this make sense for us to do this now? Like, do we need to keep doing this? Like, can we eat something different at Christmas? Like, can we celebrate another holiday or religion, or can we get into Kwanzaa or something? You start to question a lot of that stuff and these obligations. Like, why am I doing this? It's a lot of why questions. But here's the thing about asking why, and there's nothing asking why, but it's a more powerful question if you drop why and ask what? What made me? What made me do this? Or what is this rule that I'm following? Even me trying to think of a what question is still a challenge for me at times because I'm not used to asking that kind of open-ended question because I'm so used to the criticism of myself, right? Another thing that happens is you start to realize that the way you think has a huge impact on your life. This to me ties into a little bit of the law of attraction. And I was going to talk about this last week, but I had to change plans. But everything is energy, right? Everything is energy, even our thoughts. Even our vibration. And when we emit a vibration that is not high, that is not expanded, that is not that is low level, it has an impact on what is reflected back to you in your life. It's like a boomerang. You put a thought out there that has a certain frequency and a vibration. The universe catches it and it sends it right back out to you. Like you attract it back. Now, put that in the perspective of relationships. Put that in the perspective of money. Put that in the perspective of career and job. Put that in the perspective of business. If you're an entrepreneur, is for those of you that haven't heard my story, my daughter was conceived through IVF. And prior to us starting the cycle, our clinic had us watch these series of videos to understand the process, to understand on a more basic level what happens in the woman's menstrual cycle. And in that video, y'all, it told us that it's the hormones in your brain that starts the work of the ovaries, the work of your uterus. It's the pituitary gland. So if what you're telling me is that if creating a baby starts with hormones in my mind, then that must mean that creating anything starts in the mind. And that means that if you want to create something new in your life, you got to get your thoughts together. You have to start realizing that the thoughts that you think, the beliefs that you have, they have a huge impact on what it is that you see in your life. It could be the reason why things aren't going in your favor. You could be attracting it with your thoughts. You could be creating it in your mind. And I'm not saying that you making shit up and, crazy and delusional, even though we do sometimes flow in delusions. But what I'm saying to you is that anything that you want first starts in your mind. It's a thought. It's the frequency of that thought. Everything is energy, right? And energy has a vibration. Energy has a frequency. So in order for you to see something different in your life, you have to, in your mind, start to match what it is that you want to see. You got to raise your vibe. You got to start putting out a higher vibration to call a higher vibration in that manifests into something tangible: a car, a house, a husband, a wife, a family, a new job, more money, better health, whatever the case may be. It starts in the mind. Okay, so the other thing is that you start to listen in 4D. Another sign is that you start to listen to people in quote unquote authority, but you start to make decisions based on how it feels to you, right? So take, for example, and I'm just going to use the simplest example of COVID right now. Like, there are differing opinions about the coronavirus vaccination. Like, some people are with it, some people are not, some people want to take it, some people don't, some people are on the fence, some people don't even know. And so the authority at some point, I feel like, is going to say, hey, you cannot travel to this country with or without having this vaccination. I just kind of feel it coming. I mean, it's the writing is on the wall. Come on. But what happens is you start to make a decision like, well, is that right for me? And I'm not, and by the way, I'm not advocating one way or another on this vaccine. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. You need to figure out how it feels to you to have the vaccine. Do you want it or not? How does that feel to you? It's something as simple as buying a house. Let's take it even more basic, right? The authority, quote unquote, says that you should not rent. You should not be paying rent to pay for somebody else's house. And the authority says that whatever that authority is, whether that's a belief or a family tradition or a family value, says that in order to have an object of wealth, you need to own your own property. But does that feel right to you? You make a decision on how that feels to you right now. Maybe you don't want to own a house. Maybe you don't want the responsibility of having a child. But your authority says that if you don't have kids, it's going to make you an old maid, or, who's going to take care of you? So in 4D, you start to, you hear the authority, But you start to make your own decisions about how that sits with you. And then it might be a hell yeah, and it might be a nah, bro. I don't want to do it. You start to believe that sacrifice is not a requirement in your relationships. That's a big one. Like this tearing off my arm and breaking myself down into little pieces to make you feel whole and safe and all of that. That sacrifice, you start to realize that making that sacrifice is not required to be in relationship with people, to have a relationship. It might redefine the relationship, but you're still in a relationship. And when you start to make these changes, yeah, of course, people are going to buck. Your ego is going to buck and it's going to kick up. But again, you start to look at life in 4D from a different perspective. Let's see what else we got. Oh, you start to believe in a higher power. Whether you call it God, source, spirit, universe, or whatever you want to call it. You start to rely on that. You start to have the desire to want to tap into that a little bit more. You start to follow your own inner guidance or your intuition. You start to have an interest for quiet time. I need my space. I just need some time and space to just be quiet, be still. Time for meditation. And you start to want to do your own personal growth. You want to start to do your own work. You start to take control of your thoughts. And here's the thing about taking control of your thoughts is not in the literal sense, but I see this as more so as learning how to neutralize the ego. Because listen, your mind is like a computer. It's always going to make thoughts. It's always going to be roaming in the background. There's something always going on in the server room because that's what it does. That script is always going to be running until you change it to run something else. But this carries over to ego and soul. There becomes a point in the 4D consciousness where you start to manage and take control of your ego and not the other way around. And you start to do it so much and so well that you start to neutralize the ego and allow the soul, your soul essence, to start to take the front seat and to lead. Soul meaning intuition, inner guidance. You start to believe that what you expect and how you feel will determine the outcome. You start to sense energy fields, even though energy fields have existed already in 3D. You start to become aware of them much, much more in 4D. You start to sense and more expansive energy. And you start to notice the difference between that and the less dense energy. It goes far beyond of being able to cut the tension in the room with a knife. Like you can start to feel people's vibe like, I ain't messing with them. I ain't feeling it. There's something about that just ain't right. Yeah, that's that 4D sensing. Let's see what else. You start to set goals. Not that you don't set goals in 3D, but what I mean is you start to, your goals start to change. They're much more expansive. You want to not just only do more, but you want to start to be abundant. You want to start to live in that overflow. And you start investigating on how can I do that? How can I experience more of this good? You start to find safety within by using your thoughts and feelings. Like you tapped into yourself, your own energy more than with 4D. You're tapped into yourself, but you know that it's all connected at the same time. So that's why I get on here and tell y'all, like, if I know I'm feeling it, something's going on in the collective. My body is a barometer for something shifting in the collective. That's how we know we're in 4D. So let's quickly talk about 5D before we got to get out of here, right? So living in a state of 5D. So once you've passed the gateway of 4D and you are in 5D state of consciousness, it's kind of hard to go back to 3D. So from this level of consciousness, you start to understand that we all are one and we're all connected on a different level. Like you start to embody that connection. Life starts to become an adventure of growth, and there's no such thing as good and bad. There's higher purpose for everything, and every experience holds meaning. I mean, you'll find that people like Feel Good Life on Instagram and Aluna Ash on YouTube talk a lot from, at least from my perspective, I feel like they speak a lot from the 5D consciousness, and they carry back messages to 3D, 4D states that help us kind of understand what's happening from a 5D consciousness, where it's higher purpose. Like the shit you're dealing with is really small potatoes to what's really happening in 5D. Now remember, 3D, 5D, 4D, all of that you can be having the experience on all levels at the same time. It's energy. It goes anywhere. It has no form until it wants to take a form. In 5D, there are stronger feelings of love and connectedness with others. You start to have more compassion for the planet, for Gaia. You even start to have an interest in other beings, in other galaxies around us. You want to know about them. And even some of you will start to have experience in dream state or in meditation with these other beings from other galaxies. For those of you that believe in aliens and people from Lemuria and my words are eluding me, but those types of beings. In 5D, love and compassion reigns supreme. And there is a lack of judgment. You start to understand that everybody is on their own journey. Everybody's just, trying to find their way home. Everybody's trying to find their way home. So that judgment is drastically reduced or is non-existent for you in the way that you see people. In 5D, everybody's equal. There's a desire to live from a place of pure authenticity. And you have no care or worry about how people feel about it. It doesn't dictate or control how you shift and move in the world. You understand that really your purpose here is to live your truth and to seek pure joy and as much of it as you possibly can. And I also feel like that in 5D, this need for tangible things starts to go away too. Not that you don't need them, but the importance and the value of them start to lessen. And things like joy, peace, love, compassion start to become more of value to you. So you want more of it. Make sense? All right, cool. Okay, so what else can we say about 5D? Remember we talked about the competitiveness in 3D? That no longer exists in 5D. There's more than in 5D, there's more than enough for everybody. Everybody can get in. There are no crabs in a barrel. There's enough for everybody. There really is enough for everybody. There really is enough for everybody. And you don't have to beg, borrow, and steal. You don't have to tap dance and do this, this act and get involved in all this fuckery to influence somebody to give you something that you already have. You already have it. And if you feel like you don't already have it, then go get it and give it to yourself. Don't give it to somebody in order to manipulate or control them so that they don't leave you, so they don't abandon you, so that they don't you know, don't accept you, because you have already accepted yourself. That is that's living in your pure authenticity, living your truth. See, in 4D, we start to know our truth. 5D, we start to live that shit. We start to live it out. We start to embody it. And from this state, from 5D state, you start to feel like overwhelming emotions of love and compassion for Mother Earth and the stars. And you know what I'm saying? Like right now, I can't imagine me feeling like that, because I'm still kind of, I'm in the transition just like anybody else, honey. And so it feels like sometimes when people are in 5D, like, them, you so disconnected to what's going on right now, but that's not really it. Is that they have detached so much to what is really, not happening here, but they've detached to a lot of that stuff. So as you, oh, and also one last thing, your intuition is popping in 5D. Like, I know and what's coming up, thank you, Spirit, is that it seems like in 5D or in higher states of consciousness, there becomes this trust in the downloads that you're getting. Like, you hear yourself saying certain things and you feel saying certain things, but you know that it's not from you, from your brain, from your mind. It's from another being. It's from a higher being that you are being used as a mouthpiece. And I'm not talking about just psychics, mediums, light workers, healers, anybody. God, universe, spirit, they can use anybody to get the message out. And when you're in 5D, all of those tinglies and having to feel signs in your body that you're on point, I feel like that shit starts to go away. Are floating on trust that what you're getting is the right thing. And you don't care. You have no worry about if someone can resonate with it, because the person that's listening to you or watching you, the fact that they are listening and watching you says that they resonate with what you're saying. It is extremely important to remember that none of these conscious states of consciousness are better or worse than the other. They just are, y'all. They are. And everybody on this earth has their own journey to walk and their own reason for choosing to be in any dimensional state to live from. There is no right, wrong, good or bad in 5D. And again, remember that we're all always switching back and forth between these. You can choose to do that. You can choose to be in 5D when you're when you're in meditation. You can choose to astrally project when you're asleep. You have the choice to do that. So real quick before we got to get out of here, your body is going to respond. Your body is going to respond to these changes. Your mood swings. You might have aversion to certain foods that you used to love. You might not can't eat red meat anymore for a little bit. And that's okay. But if you are having some of these symptoms, might be having headaches, your third eye might be tingling, all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you what you do. You come holler at me. Come holler at me. I will help you. I will help you. God, Spirit will help me to help you. I know that for sure. I've seen evidence of it in people. Get energy healing. Get some type of balancing to help you through. Lean in and go with the flow of these dietary changes. These changes in the groups of people that you flow in. Because the more you resist it, the more you delay you getting back to the true you, the real you. You stay in lack. You stay in contraction, So listen, I'm out of time for today, you guys. I hope that this helps somebody. I really I really hope that this helps somebody kind of understand and give some clarity to where you are. Again, follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Soul Healing with Roz. Share your thoughts and comments on today's episode, and visit my website, rozkincaid.com, to book some time with me. Meet me back here for another episode next week. I have Nadia Harding from Unconditional Healing coming through to talk about soulmates and tarot in the next couple of weeks. So meet me back here. Until then, stay strong, stay positive, keep doing the work at your own pace, and stay safe. Much love. Bye, y'all.
Thank you again for listening to Soul Healing Conversations. Please join Roz Kincaid again for another program next Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Variety Channel. We'll talk again next week.